Hello, welcome to the fourth video of the Introduction to C Programming video series. In this video, we will learn about variables and constants. So first, what is variable? Variable is a container or storage area to hold data. To indicate the storage area, each variable is given an unique name, that is identifier, as we have already discussed. Variable names are just symbolic representation of a memory location. The value of a variable is changed throughout the program, that is why it is known as variable. So now in this code, as you can see, that A is declared as an integer type variable, B is a character type variable, and F is a floating type variable. And using this printf function, we are printing the variable on the output screen. As you can see that this is the output. Now, two things to note is that C is a strongly typed language, which means that the variable type cannot be changed once it is declared. So here, as you can see, that we have declared A as an integer variable. So if we go ahead and redeclare A as a floating type variable, it will display an error message. So now build it. As you can see that an error message is displayed. And the second thing to note is that C is a case sensitive language, which means that the upper and lower case letters are treated as different entities. So for example, let's delete this line. In this printf statement, if instead of writing small b, we write capital B, then an error message will be displayed. See, B is undeclared. Now let's discuss about constants. Constants are identifiers whose value cannot be changed once they are defined. Now constants are defined in two ways, one using the const keyword and two using the define preprocessor directive. The C preprocessor is a macro preprocessor that transforms your program before it is compiled. Macro is a fragment of code that is given a name, and macro in C can be defined using the hashtag define preprocessor directive. Now let's discuss about the types of constants, namely integer, floating, character, and string type constants. First, let's discuss about the integer constant. It is an integer quantity which contains a sequence of digits. It cannot have a decimal point. Blanks and commas are not allowed within an integer constant. Integer constant can be either positive or negative. The constant must lie within the range of the declared data type. There are three types of integer constants. First is the decimal, which has a base of 10. It is defined by any non-zero decimal digit followed by 0 or more. Decimal digits are digits between 0 and 9. Now octal of base 8, it is defined by 0 followed by 1 or more octal digits, that is from 0 to 7. And lastly, hexadecimal, which has a base of 16, which is defined by 0x, either small or capital X, followed by any one or more hexadecimal digits, which is from 0 to 9 and from A to F, both upper and lower case. Next is floating constant. It is used to represent and store real numbers. The real number has an integer part, real part, fractional part, and an exponential part. It can be stored either in decimal or exponential form. Now, in the decimal form, one must include the decimal point, the fractional part, or both. Otherwise, it will lead to an error. For example, in this case 10.125, the 10 part is the integer part followed by a decimal point, and 1 to 5 is the fractional part. And in the exponential form, one must include the integer part, exponential part, or both. Otherwise it will lead to an error. For example, here 10 is the integer part followed by a decimal point, and then there is the exponential part, that is e to the power minus 3. Next is character constant. It is used to store a single character within a single code. And lastly, the string constant, which can store multiple character and uses double quote to store the same. So now let's take a look at a code snippet where we are using constants. As you can see that we have declared constant using both the const keyword and the hashtag define preprocessor directive. Make a note that when we are declaring constant using the hashtag define, we do not put a semicolon at the end of the statement. Now let's take a look at the constants that we have declared in this program. First is an integer constant. Second is also an integer constant, but it is storing octal number, so it is starting with 0. Then we are declaring another integer constant in which we want to store hexadecimal number, so it is starting with 0x. Next is a character constant which is storing a single character j, and lastly a floating constant which stores a real number in the decimal format. Now here we are using a float variable called multiply, and here we want to multiply this I, that is 18, with 3.14. But instead of writing 3.14 here, we are simply replacing it with the word pi, as we have already defined it as a constant earlier in the program. Now let's run this program. Now here, as you can see, in the hexadecimal number, it is printed as 10. In the hexadecimal system, we have 0 to 9, and then from A to F the values are corresponding to 10 to 16. So for A we are getting the output 10, and in the multiply, as you can see that 3.14 is being multiplied with 18, and hence the result. And that's all for now. Thank you for your patient listening. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for further videos on this course. Thank you.